While our lesson was mostly on 10.5, we also went ahead and finished up 10.4, which talked about inscribed angles. And one of the types of problems we had was understanding that if two angles, so for instance angle MLN and angle MPN, both are inscribed angles and both intercept the same arc, then the two angles are congruent. So in which case we can see MLN and MRN are congruent because they both intercept the same arc. So the first question is, why are angle MRN and angle MLN congruent? You should have said they're congruent because they both intercept the same arc, which means I can take the angles and set them equal to each other. So I can say 5x plus 9 is equal to 6x, and I can solve, and I get x equals 9. They wanted the measure in this one of angle L. Sorry, I did problem 6 first. They want the measure of angle 6, so the answer would be, plugging that back in, 9 times 5 is 45, plus 9 is 54. You could do the same thing to find angle N. So for angle N, I can see that PNL and LMP are going to be congruent. So y would equal 3. I can plug that back in. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 8 is 17. And I have the measure of angle N. Two other theorems that we learned about in this lesson. We learned that if a triangle is inscribed in a circle and the diameter is part of that triangle, then the angle opposite the diameter is a right triangle. So I just asked you, just said it, how do we know that H, angle H, is 90 degrees? And I just told you that we know that because we can see that H is an inscribed angle and it's part of a triangle where one side is the diameter, in which case it'll be the hypotenuse, the angles. So we know that angle J, angle K, and angle H are going to add up to 180 degrees. So we know that angle J plus angle K is going to equal 90 degrees. So now you can solve that and tell me what your answer would be. What we learned is that if a trapezoid is inscribed in a circle, then the opposite angles are supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees. So I'm first asked to find S. So I'm going to take 3x plus 5, and I'm going to add to it 3x minus 5, and it's going to equal 180. And I'm going to ask you, why am I setting this equal to 180? And you should have been able to tell me that I was setting it equal to 180 because if a trapezoid is inscribed in a circle, then the opposite angles are supplementary. And supplementary means they add up to 180. So I can go ahead and finish solving this. So 180 divided by 9, did that wrong, is 20. So if x equals 20, angle S, 3 times 20 is 60 plus 5 is 65. We also did lesson 10.5 on tangents. So we're going to ask you, what is the definition of a tangent? If you didn't remember, you could go back to your notes and see that a tangent is a line in the same plane as a circle that intersects the circle in exactly one point. So now I'm going to ask you, what's the point of tangency? And it's kind of there, but I want the definition I gave you. So the point of the vocabulary was to make sure that you understood that the tangent line and a radius are going to intersect at a point of tangency, and they're going to make a 90-degree angle. So you're going to use Pythagorean theorem and tell me whether or not each of these represents a tangent line. So you're going to plug in Pythagorean theorem. If it works, it's tangent. If it doesn't work, it's not. So question number 1. Is it tangent? Yes or no? Question number 2. Is AB tangent? Yes or no? For these problems, they say assume that everything that appears to be tangent are tangent. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So for 3, we're finding x. What is x? So you should have gotten that since these are tangent, because they tell you assume that they're tangent, the distance from W to P, which is represented by 3x, is the same as the distance represented from W to Q, which is x plus 10. So if solving 3x minus 2x, 3x minus x is 2x, 16, x equals 8, and for number 3 you should have put 8 as the answer. For number 5, assume that everything's tangent. That means that angle F is going to be 90 degrees. So since you're using Pythagorean theorem, you can say that 8 squared plus x squared is going to equal 17 squared. We should have put x equals 15.